Welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Hamill, and this is Season 6, all about taking care of yourself, investing in yourself, and valuing you. I don't know why I couldn't get that word out, but you know what I mean. This is all about you. It's important that we invest and take care of ourselves so that we can show up the best version of ourselves and make an impact on others as we step into our purpose. Today's episode is really all about emotions, which is kind of a raw, tough topic for me because dealing with emotions, maybe it's because I'm a guy. I don't know. That's kind of a stereotype. Maybe it's my upbringing. I was raised pretty independent, self-sufficient kind of a thing. And so emotions is really a tough topic, but it's really important that we understand that first and foremost, I am an emotional being, right? I don't, if you want to say that to yourself right now, you are an emotional being. To say that we don't have emotions, we are just kidding ourselves. And for most of my life, I actually stuffed my emotions inside and tried to not deal with them. And what that was literally the worst thing I could do, because then those emotions would pop and then they would just puke out on whoever was the closest target. Whether they had anything to do with them or not, they just, boom, they were... it was a hurricane of a storm that got released in that moment because I couldn't hold them in anymore. And so it's super, super important that we take care of ourselves emotionally so that we can handle those things and process those things that we're dealing with. And I'll share with you a personal journey that most recently happened that was, very enlightening to my emotions. So, how do I want to open this episode? I want to talk about what do I mean by emotional self-care. Really, what I mean by that is allowing yourself to experience your full range of emotions. Your full range of emotions. Every high, every low, and embrace that of who it is. And then the key is, how can you process that maturely? That is really the key of making sure you're taking care of yourself emotionally. So one of the things that I do when I'm going through various emotions, and I do all the time, of fear, of doubt, of worry, of excitement, of happiness, of adrenaline. I'm not sure that's an emotion, but it feels like one, right? Of just being hyped and in the zone, right? There's just a full range of emotion that I deal with. One of the things I try to do that we've adopted in our house really is this idea. We've coined this phrase, stop, challenge, and choose. Many of you have heard this phrase before. You know where that comes from, but stop, challenge, and choose. But I have done that in my emotional life so that I can stop and I can challenge my emotions. And then I just choose to name and identify, why am I experiencing this emotion? Can I identify the trigger of this emotion? And this helps more specifically with the negative or the darker emotions than the lighter or positive emotions. Usually with a positive emotion, we know what is triggering it, but not always. But most of the time we know, hey, it's that new purchase gives me that burst of dopamine in my mind. It's that new smell. It's that new car smell, so to speak, that sort of thing. We know it's that prize, it's the opportunity, those kinds of things. So we know what it is on the positive side, but we don't always know what it is on the negative side. And usually the negative side has more fallout, or there's more in the wake, or left in the wake from that. And so it's super important, at least to me. One of the practices I have is I want to name it, I want to identify it, and then really own it or take personal responsibility for it, right? And so if I'm dealing with disappointment, have to own. Am I dealing with disappointment because there was an unsaid and unmet expectation? Usually that's the case, right? I was expecting something from you. You didn't know I was expecting it from you, but I was, and you didn't deliver on that unmet, unsaid expectation. And now I'm disappointed, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. I've got to stop, challenge, and choose. Wait, am I angry, disappointed, and frustrated at you for not doing what I didn't say, or at me for not saying what I was hoping? And I try to grab that early. And I'm working on that. I'm on that journey. I'm challenging myself every day to name and identify those things. But it's an exercise, and I don't always get it right. But I have to take care of myself emotionally in order to do that. The first part of that is I have to give myself permission to experience all of those emotions. I have to know I am an emotional being, and I'm going to experience all of those emotions. I'm not immune to them. I'm not above them. I don't have any superpowers to avoid them, that sort of thing. And so in order to really kind of stay calculated and successful and conquering those emotions, I have to give myself permission to experience them. I also have to have a group of people around me, friends and loved ones, where I can vent. And it's super important that we set healthy boundaries when it comes to venting, that we're not saying things like, hey, I just need to vent for a minute, and what I'm really trying to do is gossip about somebody or recruit somebody to agree with me. It just means I just need to get this off my chest, then we can just move on, right? But there's a group of people around me that I'm saying, hey, I'm being really emotional about this right now, and I just need to be emotional, and I'm identifying that, and blah, here's my emotions. But that's maturity and responsibility, and once you've communicated that, they're not trying to fix those. They're just like, yep, you're being emotional about that. It's super important, but I'm like, this is some emotional self-care that I know I've got a safe place to go to with my emotions, right? I have a safe place to go to with my emotions. I'm excited to announce to you today the launch of a new curriculum that we're doing as a follow-up to my book, The Life You're Meant to Lead. It's 12 weeks on stepping into your purpose and how to take action steps and applications to leading yourself. We cover a lot of topics about dreaming, having the right mindset, surrounding yourself with the right people, lots of things. How do you get to it? You can go to our website, ourcultivatedlives.com, or click in the description of my bio below. The other thing is, why don't you identify, or I should say, this is what I do, I identify what emotion do I want to experience with this said adventure or task or opportunity or workload. Because a lot of times, if I'm not intentional about which emotion I want to experience, then I'm just left to letting my emotions control me rather than me control my emotions. And there are things that we're always hit with that we don't plan or anticipate, but how do I stop being so stressful at work? I'm planning the emotion that I'm going to experience when a task is accomplished, or when a task is completed, or when an assignment is done, or not even when it's done, but when progress is made. I'm learning to celebrate the progress, because if we wait to celebrate when it's done, we allow our emotions to control us all along the journey. It's so important. We've talked about this in other episodes and through other things, but it's important that we have an emotional outlet or find something that you can enjoy, whether that is going to the movies, whether that is video games in my case, right? Find something that you can enjoy. Another thing, athletes do this a lot. How do you get in the zone? They find a soundtrack. They find a song. They find music that just kind of like, they tune out the world and they're like, hey, I'm going to go to that happy place. I'm going to go to that spot. We're going to talk about this in another episode, but meditation. You need to find some quiet time. Can you go a day or an hour in silence and solitude and really get introspective about where your mind is at, where your heart is at, where your emotions are at, and really take back control? Don't let life control you. You control it. Don't let emotions control you. You control them. When I say that, I'm not saying that you won't experience all of them. Give yourself permission to experience your full range of emotions, but not to the point that they're controlling you, but that you are controlling them. And watch the freedom, watch the intentionality, watch the person you become when you say, yes, I deal with being angry. Yes, I deal with frustration. Yes, I deal with disappointment. Yes, I deal with high expectations not met. But that's not going to rule me anymore. That's not going to control me anymore. I'm going to stop, challenge, and choose on those things and in those areas. I would say this, as frustrating as this is, it's so difficult. You got to have somebody that can call you on your junk. You got to have somebody that can call you when you're just like, hey, you're hangry right now. And nobody wants to hear that in the moment. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? Nobody wants to hear that in the moment, that you're being hangry, that you're being snappy, that you're being rude, that you're being short. But you got to let people call you on that, especially when you're blinded by your own emotions. And again, I'm not speaking from a place of perfection, but I'm speaking from a place of journey. My wife is the best at that, especially when I'm doing that with my kids. Hey, you're being short with the kids right now. And you know what? Here's what I've come to know. My wife does not want to be a nag. She actually has my best interest at heart. She wants me to be the best version of myself for her as a husband. She wants me to be the best version of myself for my daughters as a dad, right? All of those things. So when she calls me on that, I got to just go, whoa. Sorry, I'm not meaning to. I don't feel like it, but I must be. Maybe I do need a nap. Maybe I do need to eat something. Maybe I do need to just go for a walk real quick. And then I allow myself to take care of myself emotionally so that I can show up and not take it out on the people that I love or care about. Another thing, man, a thought just hit me. What happens when you're trying to deal with a really high stressful situation in one area and the emotions of that is impacting another area? I would say I'm guilty of this because recently, I told you at the top of the show I'd share a personal story, but if you don't know this, you will right now. The book, The Life You're Meant to Lead, is now out. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it from our website, ourcultivatedlives.com. And in the journey of writing the book, I went through every single emotion and insecurity and self-doubt and self-talk that you can imagine. Every single one of them. There were times I read a draft of the book and I hated it and I wanted to tear it up, and times that I cried, or times that I was just frustrated and disappointed, and times that I was talking to the editors going, what are you thinking, changing this or that, and what are you talking about here, and blah, 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 and like just everything, all kinds of stuff that I had to deal with reading my own words, right? It's like, you wrote this thing, Tom. Who are you mad at, right? And so, and then I would take that out on people who didn't even know I was in the middle of the project because it was just kind of under wraps at the time, or didn't know what I was frustrated about. And so it's so important that as part of your journey of taking care of yourself emotionally, that when things are hitting a high stress point, that you are in communication with those people, that you go, hey, I'm at a high stress point right now. This deadline, this project, this thing that I'm doing, it is just extra stressful. It's high intensity. And I just need you to know that if I'm short, if I'm frustrated, if I'm grumpy, it's not you. It's actually this thing. And so help me walk through that and call me on that, because I don't want to take it out on you. It's amazing the amount of freedom and release that you actually have emotionally when you tell people you're going through an emotional time. Now, I want to tell you this because we've all been cornered at the event or at the party by somebody who just wants to throw all their stuff at you, and all you try to do was do the courtesy, hey, how's it going? And then blah, right? So be picky and be choosy about who you're sharing that with. Don't air your business out to everybody, and don't do it all the time. If you're always going through an emotional thing, you need to take care of yourself emotionally, right? You need to get that under wraps. Maybe you need to get some help. No shame in that. We all need a coach in life. We all need someone helping us. We all need tools and strategies working through things, right? We need that kind of stuff. But it's important that we understand we're an emotional being, and so we have to take care of the emotions in our life. Don't just cram them in, but deal with them, wrestle with them, name them, identify them, and figure out what's the trigger to them. Last thing I want to share with you. It's so important. And it's a little personal journey. We did an episode on this. I want to say this was season 4. In season 4, we talked about really the power of forgiveness. For so long in my life, I was ruled by my emotions because I had unforgiveness towards someone close to me. In my case, it was my dad. You can read the full story in the book, or you can go back to season 4 and you can hear even more of those details. But if you're really dealing with some anger and some bitterness and unforgiveness towards somebody, it's going to emotionally put you in bondage. It's going to hold you captive like a prisoner to those moments. And I just want to challenge you, and I want to encourage you that part of your emotional self-care is that maybe it's time you let some things go. Let it go. Let it go. The prison that you're in is not holding that person or that event or that situation in prison. It's holding you in prison, and it's making everyone around you suffer because you're emotionally not dealing with it. And so I just want to challenge you. I want to encourage you. I want to coach you if I can speak into your life, because I want you to deal with your emotions. I want you to be emotionally free and mature and really becoming the emotional person that you want to become, and that legacy and that purpose and that destiny. And so as I say that, I just want to say, make sure that you're dealing with your emotions in a healthy way. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Cultivation Podcast. Be sure to look us up on all of the social media feeds, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. And we'd love for you to follow us. It's at Tom Hamill. You can find us there. And I'd love to hear your story on how you deal with your emotions. Thanks for joining us today. That's the Cultivation Podcast. Thanks for checking out this week's episode. Be sure to hit the like button, as well as make your comments in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you and journey with you. Also, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on all the other incredible content we have coming at you.